And you know you worship God. Brand new. We worship Almighty God. Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Hello.
It is evening to us, but it may be daytime when you watch it, afternoon.
Late night.
We're just thankful that you watch and you give us support. We appreciate all the love and support that we've been getting, all the comments, all the phone
Conversation.
calls, conversations. It's really taking off in a very spiritual way. Like we
Mhm.
said, we don't do it for the money. We don't ask nobody to send us nothing. This is something that we feel upon our hearts that this is needed. Our families are dying, our children are dying, our communities are dying, and
Mhm.
we really, really wanted to do something. We help and we put ourselves out there every single day. So this was just something to broaden our span to reach more people and spread more love and more God's love.
Mhm.
This week is episode 12. We're very happy and proud. This one is going to be called Learning How to Bend, Mend, and Blend Families. And it's basically talking about the blending of families and how to make it work, um, creating some strategies that can be enforced inside your family to help you progress, help you unify something when you're coming from two separate entities. You know, you man's coming from his own personal world, woman's coming from hers, and when you get to a certain age, most people come with families,
Mhm.
already made families sometimes. So really, to learn how to mend and blend and take care of one another in a loving way. What you got for them, baby?
What's going on?
You see
Hello.
that smile when I said baby, right? Yeah, I know.
You know how to get me. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to discuss on blending families because what we're finding out that because you blend something, but if it's not blended properly, it breaks down. And as it breaks down, it affects generations of people not even understanding where their breakdown began. And so we're going to just discuss a little about blending families and getting to the point where you can't tell the difference. And I think God was the greatest model of them all of blending a family. Sometimes I discussed on the last podcast about, being friends, getting to know each other. Because in reality, we all are coming from some type of rejection, whether it's, your job, your siblings, not fitting in or coming from a situation that's not ideal. Most people in 2024 are not starting with their original family, man, woman, child. We have our children. We stay together for 50 years. Everything's perfect. That's slim and rare these days. But if that's not your case, it does not mean that you can't have your happily ever after. It doesn't mean that you have failed misery and that your life is over. Once a family is broken, I feel it like it's an opportunity to choose better. Our kids can't choose who their parents are. But as parents, when things don't work or you decide that this is not working for me, you have to be very mindful of what you choose because now you're choosing to bring somebody on board to a situation that's already broken. And so we're going to just give you some examples. We're going to give you some suggestions on ways to strengthen the bonds and not break the bonds because a situation that is chaotic is like the levees breaking. You're going to have kids You're going to have in-laws. You're going to have all these things where people don't realize that marriage is just not about two people. Marriage is about two people carrying the weight of a whole entire team of people. And that's what the difference is. I think a lot of people get married expecting to just, deal with, oh, I just got to deal with my husband's issue. No, I just got to deal with my wife's issues. No, when you become married and become one, their issues are your issues. Their family should become your family. I understand that sometimes that doesn't work, but we're going to give you some insight on having boundaries,
and how we made it work.
how we made it work. You have to have boundaries. Technically, when you become married, that is your next of kin.
That is your immediate family.
That's
That
your
is your
immediate
circle.
family.
As a man, that's what God has placed up under me to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take it very seriously. And like I said, this day and age, nobody is taking much of anything pertaining to families and relationships seriously enough to do something about it and work hard to correct some of the errors that we may have grown up with, to correct some of them generational curses that we walk around with.
Mm-hmm.
Those stigmas that's been attached to us is definitely can be broken. I think we don't put forth the effort because we're just willing to go along to get along
Mm-hmm.
at this stage. It's no more hard work fighting effort to change some of the things that our ancestors worked hard to change. Sadly, it's as if we became the ones that's feeling privileged in our
Mm-hmm.
own essence of community because we don't fight for the goodness that we know is there. Everybody is born with purity,
Mm-hmm.
and to walk and act as if that we just have to be what we would learn and what we were taught and what we was programmed to be is just sad. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same result is insanity. So if you're knowing, you have to do something to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Brother said yesterday, you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to check him and say, bro, you know better. But the fact that you're saying this, that's using it as an excuse sometimes to take the weight off of you. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Because if you're able to say that statement, understand that you know better. So automatically you should want to do better. And that's just been a problem. We haven't been able to communicate to one another how we want families to grow. That's a big thing is
Mm-hmm.
when two people come together with children, how are you going to make that work? How
Mm-hmm.
are you going to understand and and uh, and mold that family into something that's going to be a generation to come?
Mm-hmm.
That next step, the next generation, our grandkids. My wife just prayed before we got on, and the Spirit hit me and said, we're going to have to start praying when we get on, just to show this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that is false. This is not something we're doing just for the cameras. We sometimes we be on different sides of the bed when we get started, but by the time we finish, you know, it all comes together just because we know we have the same ulterior motives. Ultimately we want the same goals, and that's what you have to have in a family. Even though everybody can be individuals, but you have to be an individual inside of a unit, and that's what makes the unit operate well. You got machinery, cars, everything in that car works together for everything else. That's pretty much the way our bodies operate. So learning that if if everything around us operate that way, why wouldn't we want our home and our house and our families to operate in the same way? Because that universal circle, that 360 degrees, it helps everything flow smoother. Excuse me. What you got, babe?
Uh, I think that's very true. I would like to address, before blending your family, I think it is because I always try to speak on the behalf of women because I'm a woman, but I will address men at some point. when I discuss things. But women, I think it's very important that you have a good relationship with your children before you blend them with someone else. Because if you blend them prematurely and your relationship is in the ruts with them, they don't trust your judgment. They don't really trust your spirit. And so when that other person come in with good intentions, they can't see that, me and my mom kind of have issues. That person is going to come into some casualties concerning that type of relationship. So try to build a strong foundation with your children. Men, I mean, that goes for men and women. You can't assume that you could just take your children and expect them to just, oh, I'm in love and I love this person, because when there's brokenness, even if the other parent is involved, it's still a challenge for this child to think, what is this person like? What is this person? How this person going to treat me? We can't think just about how we're going to be treated. You have to put yourself in your child's shoe to think like, well, how are they going to treat me? Are they going to love me too? Are they going to be there for me too? Because trust me, kids are very, very, very in tune to the spirit.
Observative.
When I say they're in tune to the spirit, watch how your children respond to this new person. Because if they're struggling in the area and this person is too, that's maybe not a good match. You don't want to put a child that's struggling with a person that's chaotic, because that person is going to do more damage than good and they're not even trying to. So we must do the homework to try to get our kids and love on your children, have a life with your children. So when that person comes into the life of you and your child, they understand I'm coming to help. I'm not coming to take over. They're healthy, they love each other. Now I can look at it and say, well, where can I fit in this? Because if you don't, it's just like, taking a lot of things and throwing it together and expecting some type of uh, authority to be presented. Because when you're dealing with a real man, certain things he might can't handle when it comes to dysfunctional
And
situations.
he's not going to
It's
handle
like
it.
you have to be able to have your children to the point where, well, me personally, raising my children, I had my children in a way that, and it wasn't that I did it to get a man. I had my children structured so that we could live a good life, so that we loved each other, that we could communicate and understand each other. So when my husband came along, it wasn't like, oh my God, what is he talking about? They already understood,
That level of respect.
respect. They
Hmm.
already understood authority. They
Hmm.
already understood boundaries. So Pops was like saving grace for the boys. Ray is grown and married, but he was able to help me with them, you know, helping them go into manhood easier than I would, because sometimes we want to train something we never have experienced, and it causes a conflict because they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? You're not a guy. You don't know what it is, and we really don't. Mothers, we're trying our best to give them something to the next stage. But in reality, we sometimes cause a conflict with our sons, because we can teach our daughters how to be, they're already
Women.
women, to groom, to cook, our emotions. Those are things that my husband helped assist the boys, and he can give you a little light on. And I gave him that position. It wasn't like I needed someone to just, oh, come save me and my boys. No, once I seen the type of person he was. But I paid attention to his spirit. And so when a person has the spirit of God, it's easier to relinquish. And I'm not going to say I was just like, oh, just easy. I could trust the God in him to take them into another level. And now, when people say step, and if you see these guys, these guys we got, he has poured his spirit on them so heavy. It's almost like seeing copies of him walk through the house, from cooking to taking 1,000 baths, ironing your clothes. I mean, it's just, that's what men, when you want to be with a woman, I pray that you will have something to offer the children, especially young men, because they're struggling. They don't need a homeboy. They need someone that they can modeled because men, as the leader, most kids they have to learn how to have a relationship with God. Go
That's true. That's true. Everything that she said is very true. I think some of the main issues that go on is before a woman gets into a relationship with a man, like she said, that level of respect that that child has to have for her. You know, being the head of the household, being the mother that takes care of everything, being the one that supplies all their needs. And when you have a situation like that, the best thing, and that's something as an example that made it easy. You know, I literally was at a point where I didn't see the goodness, and I'm an optimistic person, but I've seen so much dysfunction out here in society with our young men compared to the mother and their relationship. How many ladies just talk about the struggles that they have with their boys and how they be doing this and they're not doing, they won't listen, they're disrespectful. That made it easy because that was something that I didn't see. You know, that, and like I think I tried to say it. Mind you, we did this podcast Friday. The internet's system, everything was acting up. But one of the things that I said is I met the boys before I got the chance to meet her. You know, me being in barbershops, me visiting different shops, I came across a young man that was in the chair and he was talking about his future. And he literally was very articulate with how he spoke about his future and the things that he wanted and the respect that he had. Because I see a young man sitting getting cut, I talk to him. That's something that I've been doing. That's something I'm always from the days of when I had my store. I've always talked to young kids to the point where when they see me out, they literally want to come and let me know how well they're doing. uh, Mr. J, you told us to do this, you told us to do that, and even the ones that made the mistakes, they still have that utmost respect for me. So when I met the boys, it was just something that was amazing about them. The work she put in, you couldn't imagine this single mother that works two and three jobs at a time could still have the energy and the time to groom and pour in to two young men that literally she had to do it on her own with her parents. You know, that was something that I seen that was unique because, like
ahead.
I said, I was. She'll tell you I was in fear just because of what I've been through and the fact that I didn't want to be a part of any more dysfunction with a child because of the relationship not working out. So when you get to that type of place and you generally don't see what I seen in my wife, you don't see it. You know, they're friends with their sons, they're buddies. You know, it's everything is a joking manner. That level of respect they don't have. They're not goal orientated to what they want to do with their future. So all these things played a part, and God, God is funny. You say what you don't want, and He'll show you a reason why this is what is needed in your life. When I
Mhm.
say to have a family, it's something that I've always wanted. I'm a big 70s baby.
Good
You know,
times.
I'm good times. I'm even
The
happy days. I'm
Jeffersons.
the Jeffersons. I'm everything the Cosby show. You know, these are the shows that I watch that being the only child and being in a single parent home, those were some of the things that I envied. Those are some of the shows that I watched and I was like, I really enjoyed them because I seen the love and the relationship that was there. I seen the communication between the children and the mom and how she will get pops alone and tell him what she need him to do when he gets home, even if it's I need you to go kill him. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It was all and Papa going there and he act like I'm killing you, but he's talking to him. That just that relationship that we don't see no more. You don't see it on television. You don't see it in society. Everybody is having an issue with their homes, and I think the man coming in and see something that he can't relate to, because if he's not able to lead, it's going to be hard for him to cover. So if he's not in a position to lead this family, but he also got to be a person that's being led by God. Just wanting to be the boss and wanting to be a leader is
Mm-hmm.
obsolete when you're not being governed by something. And I think that's something that we have a difficulty with, because we assume that we're in that position, that we're the ones. You know what I mean? I'm all that. I don't have to, nobody don't have to tell me nothing. I make up my own rules. And even with that, you still have to bow down to the creator. And it's good to be able to bow down to something,
Mm-hmm.
something spiritual. Something should be leading you.
Mm-hmm.
And that love that I see, if you can understand a woman, a single mom. My mother was a hardworking mom like that, but even with that, what she had and she gave me, and I'm so thankful for what she was able to give. I'm so thankful for my aunt picking up that weight and adding to what she gave me. So I'm just universally um, aware of certain things when it comes down to being all by myself, and then having an aunt and uncle and two little cousins that I have to tend to. So now with the family, I'm truly blessed. You know, some people, I don't know how people think. It's like God bless you with something, and it's almost like it's an irritant to them. But that's something that they have a problem with themselves. And a lot of times it's because that mom didn't instill in the boys that level of respect. Like if you bring in several different type of men in and out your house, he doesn't he's not going to be able to respect that one that you decide this is going to be that one. You know, it has to be something that you can date, but everybody doesn't have to come home. Everybody shouldn't be looked at as, oh, that's going to be my new daddy. You know, everybody shouldn't have them qualities to automatically get to meet your kids. And that's something that I knew was good, because it wasn't a rush. You know, my son, her boys, our boys at this point, when you see the relationship, her and the oldest, that's Big Jermaine, little Jermaine, but he Big Jermaine now. If you see the relationship, that love is genuine. Like she was talking about the way my boys are with me, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
To see them together, it's like you don't know the difference.
There is no difference.
And when I go places, I literally had to ask one of the oldest. I said, "Is it okay that I don't like having to explain, because people knew me, and they was like, I didn't know you had. Oh yeah, these my boys. It's none of no one business how the makeup is made, how the dynamics is put together. All you need to understand is God put this together, and I'm going to love them like my very own. Those are my boys, and I mean that wholeheartedly. I was blessed to be instilled in something that I don't see division, because you didn't come from my yarns or loins. You didn't come from me, but you wouldn't be able to tell it. I don't want them to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that children have enough on their plate day by day with society and the social media world, that they should not have to worry about the relationship that they have with a woman that you choose as a man, or with a man that she chooses as a mate. You know, we should come in there with the eagerness, the same way you should want it to work with her, you should want it to work with them 10 times more, because they're really the ones that's going to suffer from the dysfunctional relationship that y'all may put on. So you definitely got to have a great understanding. It's a blessing when you have done your job as a woman. She gave me so many praises on seeing what she see in these boys from the time that I came in to now. It is crazy because they it's funny because when I say they are me from big little Jermaine all the way down. They have me inside of them, and that's because I love genuinely. We are thankful. Newark, New Jersey poured something in me. Coming from up north, we might be crazy. You might label us the one of the
Kill
worst
capital of the world.
capitals in the
Yes,
world.
yes.
But when you see the love I got raised when we talked about that's my brother, that's my family, that's my we're gonna protect, we're gonna teach each other. What you got, babe? I know I when you know I get emotional when I talk about my family because I'm very proud of the family that God blesses me with, and I shows him every day that I'm appreciative of them.
And that's very true. One thing my husband said is that she had to do it alone. And I want women to understand that that was a choice. You have to choose to do the hard work until help comes. You can't take the easy way out because what's going to happen is you're going to have so many broken pieces with your kids that they are so sick and tired of being sick and tired. You have to really make up in your mind, God, I need you. God, I want you to help me with, because I honestly can say my children don't give me any, much as they're going to do is, I don't know, the simplest thing that, I mean, I can't even complain,
What
but
do you think made you feel like you wanted to, like you literally broke some chains, you broke some curses? They're so unique in their own self
I think
that it's ridiculous.
one thing I decided with my children, I wanted to give them the love of God. That was something I knew would stand the test of time, whether I'm here or whether I'm gone, that they would have that relationship with God. And another thing that I understood is that my children are not mine. So I've been careful how I've handled them. I'm only a steward of those children. Those
Mm-hmm,
are God's
mm-hmm,
children,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
just like we're God's
mm-hmm.
children. And I think sometimes parents can overthrow their authority. You can manage a household without abuse, without belittling, taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to get to know your children, you can meet their needs better. And when I'm able to meet your needs, now we're coming. I understand you. I can understand what my mom wants. So we're not going to be in constant conflict because I've taken the time to get to know you as a person. Because they're going to be your child for always, but you have to teach them what respect is by giving them respect.
And that's really something that you helped me with.
Hmm.
You know, when you came into my life with my son is the fact that I had to listen.
Hmm.
You know, he's it was a situation and she really was like, that's not the right way to do it.
Mm-mm. And being able to stand, because that helped me and Jermaine's relationship get stronger because he understood my V is coming for me. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Just like my
Even if
husband,
it's against my
if
dad.
it's my dad, this is my son as well. I'm not going to go along to get along on the behalf of anyone when it comes to my babies. And I think that sometimes men, that's what women are for though. That's why we're here to
Mm-hmm,
help
mm-hmm,
me
yeah.
because the areas that my husband may be lacking in, it's not for me to point it out or make him feel bad about it. It's for me to step in and show him in a different direction coming from situations that he came from. It might be a little normal for him.
And it may not, and it's not
Even if it's
lacking.
not
It's
lacking,
just being a
you
different
know,
way of teaching.
it's of teaching.
Yeah,
It's not that I'm gonna say, "Oh, you do,"
learning.
being able to help him become better because I want all my children to see my husband in the brightest light that they can see him in because he's the leader. They can't follow someone that's not leading properly. And wives, you are the bridge from the children to the father.
Mm,
You can't be the father can't be the only disciplinary person in the house
man, that's very true.
because you're gonna make your children think daddy is a big bad wolf
Yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah,
mean and hateful.
yeah.
And then when it's time for him to have those real conversations about sex, girls, money, depression, they're not even gonna talk to their father as a confidant because you've allowed that dysfunction to separate them. No, it's your job as a wife to gather certain information. Sometimes I might have to chew it up and give it to him
A day or
a
so.
day or so,
Hmm.
or I may some things I may handle without him knowing until I'm ready for him to deal with it because everything, and that's the thing about being equally yoked, is that I can handle things just as well as him in the same manner. I might chew it a little. Sometimes I might be rough,
Hmm.
I might
She
be
could be
tougher.
rougher, yeah.
He might get the soft end, but my job is to not allow him to have to be the one that comes in with all the power. Because if he's hearing from God properly and he's seeking God, I can't allow their relationship to have any disconnect.
And she has to trust that I'm gonna listen to that spiritual
Hmm.
side that's giving me guidance.
He's seeking, he's meditating, he's praying. I can see the way he's moving. This week, my husband, he does a lot, which he'll never say he does a lot. Whatever we're doing, he's present. And so I was praying over the weekend, and God said, just as clear, he needs to recalibrate. He's at the end of his wit. And I didn't say anything. I didn't tell him what I was thinking. I didn't tell him what me and God was talking about. I said, well, babe, in the morning, I didn't ask him. I said, babe, we getting up in the morning. I'm leaving at 10 o'clock because a certain somebody, it take them about 2 hours to get dressed sometimes.
Not for a normal, just run of the mill day.
Well, he'll pick out two or three outfits and
That's
you
if
come
we're
back.
going somewhere.
Yes. And I'm gonna put a lock on his closet or alarm because you leave with one thing, I come back in there, you got five other things out. But you know. So I got up that morning, I prepared us a little lunch, and I just took him for a ride for him to unwind, to get his thoughts together. Ladies, make sure that you're able to get in. And fellas, you got to be willing. You can't be so dominant that you can't hear or she can't talk to you or you're always argumentative
And
because a
vice
woman,
versa, because we
yeah,
heard something this week that a guy was scared to,
women
really say what he had to say.
women are shut down and be scared, just like men will be. But I'm
Hmm.
speaking on my
Hmm.
thing I done this week is that I seen the need, I met the need, and I didn't give him a chance to tell me he didn't want to go. I didn't give him a chance because I knew he needed this. So we went up there to the pretty place. We went to the mountains. We had a beautiful time. But when we got there, it was so peaceful. I couldn't stop crying. I'm crying the whole time because I could feel the release of of all the things we've been doing just fall off our spirit. Since that day, I've been sleeping, just feeling sleepy, because sometimes in life we just go 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 go, and we don't understand that we take better care of our phones and our cars and our luxuries than ourselves. Where do you go to get rest when you can't find it within your own spirit? You're going to be on the run for the rest of
And
your
within
life.
your own household.
You have to be able to say, you know what, babe, we love these children, we love everybody else, but if we're each other's rib and he's the structure and I'm guarding his heart, we're always on go. But being able to say, you know what, even when you're mending a family, you have to understand, because this is one thing that really led me to taking him as well. As I was meditating, I could, I could hear people saying, I remember right when we fell in love. I remember where, but you rarely hear people say, I can remember why we fell in love. And so
So
if you can't keep going back to the why we fell in love, we fell in our
that's why
journey.
the disconnect coming
That's where the disconnection come in
in.
because when you fell in love. Oh, we fell in love in 2000 or 1999. Okay, you remember the time, but why? If your why not still adding up,
Hmm.
that's what your beef is.
And that's the major coping mechanism and skill that you need to enforce into your relationship because that's what helps.
Hmm.
It's a technique that you can try is writing down all the things that you like about your mate and all the things that you dislike. And if the dislike overpowers the like, it's it's not necessary to look at the person to change it, but what if you know about them, then maybe you should understand them more. You know, stop being so offended by some of the things he may do when this is something that he's pretty much have been living with his whole life. Now, some stuff is just so far fetched, abuse, verbal abuse, fighting, going going to the deep. We're not talking about the worst of the worst. We're talking about just generally having issues, going through stuff weekly, having little spats throughout your week. And everybody probably deals with that, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to. Learning how not to be so offended by every single thing takes that away. It's a guy I've been listening to. I think his name is Wayne Dyer. He's definitely someone that teaches if we walk around how easy life will be if we walked around not getting offended by anything,
Mm-hmm.
allowing everything to just flow, take some of that weight off of us. We go through life and we're offended 5 times in an hour.
Because offense is gonna come, and that's part of offenses. Will come. They're gonna come. But I also believe that when you understand that you don't own the world and you don't own people, that you don't have to say something every time you see something when it comes to your partner.
There should
Because
be a level of respect.
in reality, I something I did before and I tell people to do. If you can write down 10 things that you don't like about your spouse, I want you to write down 100 that you don't like about you. When you take the time to uh, I can't stand
Pick
this.
everything.
But what happens is it get intensified. So now, whenever they haven't even done it, and you're waiting to dislike something, God does not make junk. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Well, that's an
Sometimes
irritation within themselves a
within
lot of times.
themselves,
I
and
think people don't allow themselves to learn how to deal with their own stuff.
mhm,
So you carry it on into the relationship, into the children. A lot of the dysfunction that goes on is because people are bitter with some of their own choices and situations.
mhm,
And that's what I've seen that you didn't do, no matter what the situation was about your life, about your children, about whatever went on. You're not, that's not going to be a reason why I give them less love.
mhm.
That's going to be the reason why I go give them more love, more teaching, more patience, more guidance. Because a lot of them things are something that was neglected from.
And that's what the world is in the need of is love. If we loved each other the way we should, it'll be a lot of less killings. Divorce rate will go down because love doesn't mean abusive. Love is bringing compassion and understanding to something that you may never experience, but you have to be
Love is
able.
God.
Love is God. And so many people say that they have God in them. And that's something I want to discuss too when it comes to loving God. Who are you representing? Because I ask myself this, I'm the poster child. Are you going to represent Victoria or are you going to represent God? You don't know how many times I've had to get in my car and cry, or my husband looking at me and I just have to share tears because I know I can't represent me because she don't be doing right. That love I have for God, it trumps out my response to a lot of things.
And it pulls you back in.
It pulls me in and humble me down.
But it's only when you're spending time with God.
Once you, and I think for me, understanding that I've done things backwards, I've did
We all
things,
have. We
but
all have.
with that, I don't take God's love and use it, take it for granted. I understand that even in my imperfections, that you was there for me, you covered me, you provided for me and my children. So now that I understand the love he gave me, now I'm indebted. When you're indebted
Mhm.
with somebody, when you're indebted with God, you can never repay him.
And never behave in a bitter manner. I think kids get a lot of our self bitterness
Mm-hmm.
about our own situation. So
Mm-hmm.
now they get neglected, and we
Mm-hmm.
only think of neglect in food and clothing and we got some of. I think my wife might have said it to me one day. A lot of these kids they well dressed, but what's in their heads. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I like it now because I generally see young guys now that's not into the clothes to that
Mm-hmm.
degree. You know, they're fine with their sweatpants or their basketball shorts and they Crocs. You know, I think that takes a lot of pressure off of something that I think we gravitated more to clothing because back then you didn't have that. Parents didn't have the money to buy you designer. They didn't have the money to get you this. But the thing that when you see a kid that's dressed head to toe and he literally probably has more more clothes cost wise on him than I do as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
that bothers me when their grades may be slipping, when they're disrespectful to their mother. You know, even with the respect that they may have, they still behave in a manner of feeling privileged,
Mm-hmm.
like you're
Entitled.
supposed to do these things. I get people that tell me, "Oh, my child ain't gonna wear that." How do you say your child is not gonna wear something that you buy? My baby, my son was the well dressed kid to the point that he don't care. She'll tell you he don't care about names. But he understands it's the man. It's not the clothes. If your character is tarnished, you're a well dressed fool. You're a clean cut, ignorant person. So if you're not being operating from a place of integrity and humility, then you're operating from a place of ignorance. So now you're just a dressed up person that doesn't know how to
A,
represent a man.
a dressed up mess. If a person's not going to work and have to dress in a certain area, I promise you, if you're dressing up every single day, you're not happy. You just, for one, happy people don't have that kind of time. They so busy enjoying what they're living, what they're doing. What you have is not who you are. And I think that's something we have to teach our children because the lifestyles that we provide for them, if you want to live like me, you're gonna have to go to work like me. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to sacrifice. Diane is an AAU. Anybody know what AAU is? I'm trying to tell you, it is not cheap in the slightest. But Zion also know if this is what we're supporting you. But you can't get even though he don't ask for anything, but he understand if this is what I want to do, my parents are gonna support me.
And my grades have to be on
Grades got
point.
to be stellar because if you slip in the slightest,
Sports is irrelevant.
to
You
me
know,
that's
grades come before anything.
but teaching them and letting them know I want to live after you leave my house. You can't put so much stress on your husband or your wife to provide things for children that's going to grow up and think that that's their life. That's not really your lifestyle. This is our lifestyle that we're providing for you. But while you're here under our covering, you must be doing the work that is necessary
As a
as
child.
a child to grow up and be able to take care of yourself. Because I'm not going to continue to take care of you for the rest of your life. Don't put your partner in stressful situations. You have to come together as a family, discuss certain budgets. Babe, what you think about this? Don't make it feel like, oh, I got to do all these things.
And men don't have a problem with taking care of a family that's yours. You
Hmm.
know, no matter, like I said, don't necessarily have to be the biological. That is something that gives children so much anxiety when they feel as if they're not wanted by your choice. You
Hmm.
chose this person, and a child shouldn't never feel unwanted when you loving on the moms, but you and the child has some type of distance. You
Hmm.
have to have that genuineness to
Hmm.
care for what God and that's the key. Like we keep saying, you got to have that relationship with God because if you don't, you're not gonna see Him that way. Some of your childhood trauma can interfere with the
Hmm.
development of a young person that you 30, 40, 50 years old. This
Hmm.
person is 6, 7, 8, 15. They're still growing.
Hmm.
So if you don't have yourself grounded, and a lot of times that's just getting into a place and learning how to feel better about yourself. Because
Hmm.
ultimately, that's the thing. We subject other people to the things that we dislike about ourselves.
Projection.
When you see people and they pick different nitpick about different stuff, a lot of that is some of the stuff that they dislike about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of working on themselves, they give it out. They give it out to the ones that they say they love. And that's something that I say, I don't know if people understand the meaning of love because nowadays it ain't enough. You got to have some kind of spiritual leadership over your life to be able to guide you and correct you when you go left. And when you're not seeking that, when you feel like you're the commander of your ship,
You're gonna sink
that's when it sinks every time.
every time.
You have to have some kind of love and guidance for your creator and really mean that. We put trust in every single thing more than we put into God. We trust our cars to start in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
but you forget that you woke up. We don't, just because we don't see it, we feel as if we can't trust in it. And
Mm-hmm.
trusting in it is saying, God, you put this in my life. And if this is not what you want me to have, I'm going to be patient enough for you to do your work, for you to separate it from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key. If God doesn't want it in your life, trust me, sooner or later, just like a job, it's going to dissolve.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with God. He'll let you make the bad choice.
We're going to have a part two because we get on these
He'll,
kids and don't stop.
God will let you choose wrong, and He will
Oh,
patiently
yeah.
work with
Oh,
you
yeah.
and through it, and allow certain situations to be with you.
Because
So
that's to teach you.
that's to teach you.
Hmm.
Because you want
Hmm.
to choose this? Okay,
Hmm.
baby, let's
Hmm.
go. You want 20 years of this? You
But I
want 30
want you to
years?
correct some of the things that
Correct yourself.
hmm.
So when you look back on it, you be like, God gave me what I wanted, even though that's not what I needed. But even with all of that, He never left my side.
And with them 20 years that you may put in, those are 20 years that you've been stagnated and not working on your spiritual
Because when you
relationship.
work on yourself,
Because when you build that relationship with God and everything, you stop worrying about
uh-uh.
what this person is bringing in, the negative. Yes, you're right. I'm good.
Okay,
You'll just
they're
let
not as
it go.
effective. They're not as effective.
When you have the covering of God, a lot of the outside elements that may affect your life, that's why you have to be on the same accord. You can't be someone, she can't be the spiritual guidance. And I'm over here just in chaos and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
from bar, I'm coming in there, I'm doing this,
Bringing
and
all the spirits
I'm
home.
bringing everything into my home. And now I come home and get mad
You
when
don't know why you mad.
I'm the one that's out of pocket because I don't want to take accountability for my own behavior and actions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing in families is
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we're not taking accountability for what we created.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these issues, some of these problems that we have in our lives, we are the lead person that started this. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you might have childhood trauma, but you're a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
Stop using that as an excuse for your behavior. Stop giving that as an example of I've been through the A, B, C, D, and E, and I can't do this. Have you worked on it? Because as we say, if you know better, you do better, right? So if
But
you
you have to
know
be able to.
for
Now,
20 years and don't do nothing about it, because it is what it is.
this is how I am. No, that's not how you are. That's not how
God didn't
God. He
create you
didn't
that
create.
way.
Those are things that
Society created
we
that
have
in
to
you.
work on, and it's not the we don't want anyone to be embarrassed.
Mm-mm.
We don't want nobody to feel bad, but in reality, this is for the women and the husbands. Ask yourself. You take an inventory of your household. If your household is in chaos, there's going to be an infomercial. You are partially to blame. If your
Man or woman.
man or woman, if your house chaotic, if there's no peace in your house,
If your kid's out of control,
that's your problem. I say that's your problem. When you look at it, this is my problem.
I
When
created
you
this.
create monsters, like my children are spoiled. They're 7 years apart. They are spoiled. But guess what? I created the monsters, and from time to time, I have to put those monsters under control. Because sometimes we give our kids what we didn't have, or we don't want them to feel lack. No, you need to understand what hard work is.
And they're not spoiled to the point of
No,
disrespect.
no,
And that's the difference.
no.
You got some that's majority of when people say spoiled, majority of times it's at a negative way or a
No.
negative impact. But being spoiled to the point of this is what you used to getting your way,
Mhm.
okay, that's fine. But I'm gonna have to give you some reality because as a man, my job is to prepare you for a family. That's what fathers are in the game supposed to
That's
be
true.
there. You're supposed to be prepare your children, your male children, for a wife. For when she pulls up and she got a car full of groceries, you and the boys go out there and empty that car. You know, as a husband, I shouldn't sit back and allow my wife. Me and her done had it because that's been her job.
Just keep it
You know what
going.
I mean? Come in the house from work, 12 hours. She grabbed the bags out the car. No, that's something that as a man I had to show my wife
Because you don't think about it, you just do it. And one day
because she'd been doing it so
me
much.
and Zion was at the store, and he was like, "Mom, you taking it too far. Pops told me to get the bag. You got to carry your pocketbook at least." It was like, okay, I'm not
Or
carrying
he'll
nothing.
say, "You want me to get in trouble? Give me them bags." Jermaine used to tell him, you think you about to get me in trouble? You better not
Man,
touch that
he'll
bag
carry my pocketbook, everything. He don't care.
because they understand that that's something that I'm letting you know.
Mhm.
I explained to my boys, your mother shouldn't have to with all she does for you. Why should she have to lift a finger when it comes down to bringing groceries in the house that's ultimately she got to prepare for you? You know, why does she have to come behind you and pick up and do things when this is already her giving, you know, giving you life, giving you that every piece of energy, especially when you got I gave you it all. Her most prideful thing, and that's what I love so much about her, is the fact that she was content with being a mother.
That's true.
You had when you're not content with the job that God bestowed upon you, God gave y'all the ultimate job. And truly, that's your only real job. You can't, God doesn't know anything about a law degree, working at the warehouses. He don't know nothing about the
He really don't
materialistic
care.
part of the world. The fact that I created something that you can create life, like I gave you life. I'm putting something in you to create life.
Hmm.
That is the most important job
That's a
in the
gift. That's
world,
a gift you can't give yourself.
but we take for granted. We
Yeah.
don't, we're so selfish in our
Mhm.
own selfish ways that we really don't value our children.
Our
We don't
children.
value the fact
Hmm.
that God gave me something that I must cherish and that
Hmm.
it comes from a deep place with me because of the cycles that I've been through as a young man, just dealing with mother and son. It's sad when we get to a place where we don't understand the biggest gift on this world. When we leave this world, what do you leave behind?
Hmm.
Forget about the money. Forget about the savings. Forget about everything
The
else.
job.
What do you leave behind that represents you? Your child.
And at the end of
That's
life, at the
it.
end of life, I do a lot of reading, and most people regret not spending time with their children.
Hmm.
That was the biggest
Hmm.
regret. Even people who lived into their hundreds, their biggest regret was not spending time with your children, because what happens is they grow up, and when they grow up and don't come home and don't want no parts of you, now that big life, you got to understand your life gets small as you get older. It dwindles down until you ain't the cutest.
Everybody
Everybody
got.
not inviting you everywhere.
Mm-mm.
You can't catch a ride because they blind and
Mm-mm.
you blind. You can't see, they can't see. And so once you get what you put into something.
The owner of Apple, when he passed, stated, he said, with all my money, I can't buy life.
Mm-mm.
He said, the only thing I regret is not spending my time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
You got one of the richest men in the
In the
world
world.
that literally tells you, I have so many friends that don't have, he said, billionaires. He said that they don't have relationships with their by themselves. They don't work
It's
themselves
lonely at the
so
top.
much where they don't have no connection with their family. And he said, that's something that I vow, no money in the world. He said, that's the richest man in the world is somebody, as a man that values his family first. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've always read about cancers and the sign. and the fact that that's something that we value. You want to see a cancer lose his mind? Mess with what God gave him because he values that. I
Mhm.
value that more than anything else. Is because I tell young men, take care of your family, you'll be okay.
Mhm.
Men, that's
Take
a
care of your
given.
wife. It says,
Take care of your family, your children. Sometimes men are single, they got kids, and take
take
care of
care.
them.
I'm telling you,
God
he
will
who
cover
finds a
you.
wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. I'm telling you,
We got to
take
do
it.
a part two, baby. We got to do
We got to
part
cut it
two.
off,
We got
but take care of your children. Find a way to work it out for your children. If you can't work it out, I understand, but at least have that respect
and I
for it.
don't understand because swallow your pride.
That's all it
Let
is.
go of your ego
I don't like you,
because
you don't like me, but my child is the most important. This our child we created. Let's figure out a way so they won't get caught up.
and I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm some big shoes to follow. I'm sorry. I don't do it to impress nobody. I don't do it to take nobody
Well,
place. That's who I am. I'm coming, I'm showing up because I'm not gonna be sleep on the job. God gave me a job, and the first job he gave me is to protect this woman and my children. That's the job he gave me. I don't care about all the other accolades that I may receive. Because if I don't do this job right, I'm not taking care of his business. He gave me the number one job. And when I can get up and don't have to run and punch a clock, that's him telling me, I'm giving you a job and you're doing a good job. Well done, young man. That's something that touches my heart because I understand what I'm here for, what he put me here for, what he put the woman here for, and what he put men here for is to
mm-hmm,
take care of our women, our children. This is something I didn't know. This is something I'm learning because of my relationship with God. It wasn't necessarily something I'd seen, something someone
mm-hmm.
gave me. This is something that praying, meditating, having a relationship, giving him time. I had to realize we give everything else time. You tell me you can't give 30, 40 minutes, an hour to God a day out of 24? I'm giving you 24 hours to live, but you can't give me 10 minutes,
So just
20 minutes.
try it, and that's a suggestion for the men and women. Spend some time with God. Spend a few minutes with your kids each day.
We're going to have a part two. This is
Yeah, we're
going to
gonna
be
have part
men,
two. Men blend,
men
and we
and
have
women.
one about privacy. They want us to discuss the
Yeah.
privacy in marriages, which is very important when you're married.
But we really appreciate everything, all the
Positive
emails, all the phone
phone calls,
calls.
text
We
messages.
have so many family members that's been chiming in and loving on us, and we truly appreciate it. We don't take anything for granted. That's why I was said, small beginnings. My baby always say,
Never despise small beginnings.
you got to think about it. God looks down and imagine how small we are, but every one of us are important.
Mm.
Every one of us is important to God. Nothing is so small that He doesn't have His hands on. He has His hands on this podcast. He has His hands over our life.
He has his
You
hands
have
on
to
you.
appreciate the fact when you get a call from a young man that says, I need your help. Thank y'all so much. We truly appreciate it. Stay tuned. Part two. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. I ain't mean to put my hands in your face.